Welcome to Season 3 of the M-W Tactical Podcast. Sit back and enjoy the conversations with the mad scientist and myself as we discuss the sport of shooting, goals, training, and everyday life. You are listening to the M-W Tactical Podcast. All right, good people. We're back at it again. Another installation of the M-W Tactical Podcast. And I do want to thank everybody for coming on and listening with us, especially our international audience. That right there pretty much makes the mad scientist and myself smile when people from around the world are listening to us talk about our adventure within the gun community. We also want to remind everybody that the South Carolina section is taking place April 30th through May 2nd. Registration is open now, and you can even squad and all the shebangs that come with it. But please head on over to Practice Score and look for the South Carolina section that's taking place April 30th through May 2nd in Belton, South Carolina. Once again, registration is open now. Without further ado, I want to bring in my buddy, the one who I like shooting with, the one who I always call and nag, the one who I always bust with a question and he has the answer. This guy has the knack around machinery. He has knack around knowledge. He even cooks. He cleans.
Oh, don't tell people that.
Once again, want to welcome the mad scientist, my buddy, Dave, to the show. What's going on, Dave?
Hey, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good.
Good.
Woke up from a nap not too long ago. Had a great workout. I'm getting ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Well, good.
Yeah. So that's one of my focuses for 2021 is
more napping.
No, getting back in the shoot. Because when I was in the military, my focus was always working out because you pretty much had to stay ready at any given notice.
Oh, yeah, sure.
You know, and even though I was in the conventional army and it being all my units were infantry units, our PT standards was pretty high. Even when you're looking at it from the military scale, you can get 300 on a PT test. That's the max you can get on a PT test. And a conventional unit, infantry unit, some units was doing 270, other units was doing 280, you know. And even if you look at it across the board in the Army, the average is 210. You know, you pretty much can just take a nap on the PT test, wake up and still pass it. You know, but they changed the standards to the PT test. So they got some new PT system now, but I'm glad I'm out because it's more events that you had to do versus the 3 events that we had. But one thing I do remember is that when I was in the Army, being in shape, it kept my thoughts clear. I was able to perform at the drop of a dime. And at the same time, I felt really good, you know? So,
yeah.
Yeah.
That would be the last thing I would want to worry about is
Right.
physical fitness when you're concerned about combat.
Right.
Yeah. I would really want to make sure that I was ready to go at any time too.
Yeah. So I'm thinking more along the lines of taking that mindset into the 2021 season. And of course, you know, I'm beating it up at the gym, doing my little workouts at the house, doing my dry fire, you know, and especially after a good workout like I had yesterday, had a great workout. And then today doing a little bit of dry fire, I was like all over the place. You know, my reloads wasn't working right for me because my arms are still kind of like baby deer legs. So
it's
I'm
tough
over here.
It's tough to combine them together at the same time.
Yeah. So, but the best part about it is the more I do it, the better I'm going to get with it, of course.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm looking forward to that one, and I think that's going to step up the performance in 2021 overall.
I think so. And we touched on it on a previous episode, but that's you know, part of my plan for the upcoming year too. I'm going to really try to focus, you know, more on the physical fitness side of myself.
Right. And now, I know that you mentioned that you was going to link up with Travis and you
Hmm.
was going to talk more nutrition with him, but I couldn't remember if you said you was going to talk fitness with him or did you have your own routine when it comes to fitness?
Well, yeah, I'm going to talk with him about that after Christmas, after we get calmed down from the Christmas break, and I'm going to get in touch with him, and we're going to come up with a fitness and nutrition plan,
Gotcha.
and you know,
Yeah.
get something started, see how it goes. We may change something out throughout the year, or as I
Right.
progress, or hopefully,
Mm.
but we'll see. And we're gonna get something started.
Yeah, one thing I didn't do, not to jump off topic or anything, I have yet to look at the matches that are coming up for 2021 and make a determination which matches I want to shoot.
I actually looked or tried to look a little this morning, and there's not much out
On
there
there yet?
yet.
Oh, okay. So we still
Uh,
got time then. I know earlier today, Coach B had hit me up and she had asked which matches was I planning on doing. And I told her I was planning on doing nationals. So looking at the calendar right now, I do know nationals is taking place in October,
mhm.
October 20th. So I know I want to do that one. I know I want to do Area 6 also.
Yeah, that one has a date already. You can't register yet, but
Right.
some of the area matches are already up on the USPSA website.
Right.
Registration isn't open for anything, but you can
But
at least get some date ideas.
yeah, and one thing I did do earlier this year for all the major matches I was doing, I laid it all out on a clipboard, all the matches I wanted to do, and it worked out for me like that. I'm just not remembering everything. I'm literally jotting everything down and literally making detailed plans as to I want to go here, I want to go there. But
I
I do want to take it out of the norm of what we did this year, next year.
hmm
So, like maybe do one in West Virginia and one in Utah or something different.
Yeah, so there's Area 5 I was looking at for next year. I tried to do that this year. I did that same thing beginning of this year. I sat down, and we have my wife and I have a big calendar that's on the kitchen counter, and I made notes of all the matches, and scheduled everything on a calendar. But then the year got so screwed up, the matches were rescheduled and canceled, and
Right.
I lost track, man. I forgot that I was registered for matches that I already was, and I this year was confusing. Normally, you don't have to deal with that stuff, but
Right.
this one's a little different. But I try to do that too. I look at the beginning of the year and then try to plan it out.
Yeah. So let's sometime next week, let's sit down and actually plan it out at least 3 to 4 matches.
Yeah, no, let's
And
do it.
then figure out which ones we want to hit up.
We need to go to Alabama.
Yeah, I
We've been
want
talking about that.
to. I can't remember. Somebody said something was taking place in Alabama next year, like Talladega area.
Yeah, there's
Oh, that's
several
what. Yeah, that's what
big
Nationals is
matches
taking
there.
place.
Yeah, nationals, and then I think there's World Speed Sheet, maybe Steel Challenge thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There's a good bit going on in Alabama, but you and I talked about going to the
East Alabama Gun
local
Club.
club there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We could definitely do that one. I know. Coach B enjoyed that facility also. But then again, like I said, there's Premier Challenge, competition there also.
It'll be good. It'll be
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. I think it will be. I think it will be.
I have to wait till I get my primary gun back though. I sent
Oh
it off.
yeah. I was going to ask you about that later on in the show, but since you already brought it up, you
Yeah,
sent it off because you needed to get a new grip,
I'm sad.
if I remember.
I'm sad about it. This is the longest we've been apart since we've met, and I'm not really sure how to handle this.
All right, so go ahead and tell the good people why are you separated from this inanimate object?
It's hard to talk about, but I'll try. So it's I bought custom Limcat gun at the beginning of the year. Well, I bought it last year, but I took delivery of it at the beginning of the year, and I shot it all year. And the grip shape I kind of struggled with. It just didn't fit my hands quite right. And after a year of use, there's some wear on the gun. And Limcat, the gun shop, offers to go through the gun, once a year, replace any parts that are worn or need replacing, and then they'll refinish the whole gun. But while they're doing that, they're going to replace the grip for me with one that's a little wider. Should fit my hands a lot better, and I won't have the struggle I did with just the thumb safety was an issue because of the position of my hands on the grip, and I kind of fought with that all year. But it was a great gun. I could not have asked for a better gun. The thing ran flawlessly. I never had an issue with it mechanically. It was just a fit personally for my hands and that grip shape.
Did you happen to get that gun at the beginning of the year? Because it doesn't seem like you had it for a year yet.
Yeah, it was February maybe. So I got it earlier in the year.
I remember when you showed it to me, but I know it was a warm day when you showed it to me, so maybe that's why I'm thinking it was the summertime. But
maybe I could have been March. It was before summer.
But I was like, man,
I shot it all summer.
it didn't seem like it was that long. Wow. So
it probably wasn't in a whole year, like 12 months, but
right. Well, it's still that time frame. You're still within that window.
Yeah.
In my mind, I look at a year as 10 months, 2 days. So it's still stuck with me. Yeah. So actually this week we don't have an interview this week, so it's just you and I talking about the topics we're going to carry on with. And at the same time, last week I stated I wanted to talk about something that resembles something of a red dot.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know you knew what those things were.
Well, I'm kind of scared of them in a sense of speaking, but we're going to talk about that after this commercial break. And I think it's going to be interesting, and I know you're going to be more excited about it after I say what I'm going to say.
I like red dots. Let's talk about it.
Trust me, I know. But please stay in your seats, and here are a few words from our sponsors.
Hey, this is Brian Conley at Hunters HD Gold. If you've never tried Hunters HD Gold, then I challenge you to find me at a match next year. Go to the website under scheduled events, find out where I'm going to be. Come meet me in person and demo a pair for yourself. Find out why shooters across the United States are changing to Hunters HD Gold to get 43% more light to their eyes, better contrast, eyes that are not fatigued at the end of the day based on the colors that we use, and find out the real meaning of why they change so you don't have to. So check us out on our website, huntershdgold.com, and I look forward to seeing you at the range soon.
JM4 Tactical has developed a state-of-the-art polymer holster that will quickly become your go-to holster. With high-quality Herman oak leather securely sewn to the interior of the molded outer bolt-around shell, your draw becomes silent and no more scratches up and down your firearm. When seconds count, you can rest assured that you will have the upper hand when you need it most. Whether you carry open or concealed, the Relic holster is available in 4 different models, fitting over hundreds of different style guns. The new reliable, easy, light, individual carry holster by JM4 Tactical. Order your Relic today at jm4tactical.com.
Are you in the market to purchase your first or next firearm, but find the atmosphere of a gun store intimidating, crowded, or uninviting? There's a way for you to purchase the gun you want while avoiding the crowds, the gruff salesmen, and the marked up prices that come with a brick and mortar gun store. The process is called a transfer, where the purchase is made at an online store and sent to a federally licensed middleman called an FFL, who processes the paperwork and background check for a firearm purchase. CAE Transfers is the FFL with the lowest transfer cost in the Midlands at only $20 or $15 with the presentation of a South Carolina concealed weapons permit and $10 for repeat customers. If you live in Columbia, South Carolina or its surrounding areas, choose CAE Transfers as your FFL during checkout and let me help you complete your online gun purchase. You can find and follow CAE Transfers online at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram using @CAE Transfers. Thank you for your business, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, good people. We're back at it again. And this is the week after Christmas. And me and Dave just sitting right here chopping it up about gun stuff going into 2021 and what we're going to do. As I stated earlier before the commercial break, I made a comment last week before we got off the show that I am considering running a red dot. But I originally told myself once I make master or A class, I was dancing between the two, but once I made master, I was going to shoot carry optics for a little bit and gave limited a break. After talking to a few people, a lot of people honestly believe that if you were to go to a red dot and then come back to iron sights, it will help out your shooting.
So yeah, I've heard that. I've heard people say that. And
Yeah.
I could kind of see where it might help you some for certain reasons.
Right. But I don't think it will pan out like everybody says it does. I mean, like, I never really done it to test it out, to be honest.
So yeah, I don't know that it's like a magic thing that just automatically makes you shoot irons better. But just from my experience with it, when I started, went from production to carry optics, when carry optics first became a division in USPSA, or it was before it was actually an official division. They did like a trial period for about a year, I think. Carry optics and PCC kind of came in together as trial divisions before they were official. And I thought I was interested in trying to red dot, and carry optics is an inexpensive way to get to try a red dot on a pistol. Of course I shoot open now, but it's tough to make that commitment. You're looking at several $1,000s to get into the open division, and
Right.
without knowing you're going to really like it or not, that's hard to it's a hard decision to make. So
Right.
it was easy when carry optics was introduced, because you could, at the time, they were pretty well just stock factory guns, Glocks and M&Ps, that you could put a red dot on and go shoot the division. And what I noticed from moving from irons to red dot and then back to irons, or back and forth, I still shoot some iron stuff too, but you get a lot more information visually when you're looking at a red dot on a target than you do with irons. It's a lot more precise. So you get a lot more information about what your gun is doing, when at any point of the shooting, while you're moving, you can see that red dot bouncing around a lot more than you could really notice your iron sights moving around.
Right.
Watching it under recoil, you get this a clear up and down movement, as long as your gun's tuned correctly. But your red dot's moving up and down and shaking, side to side. You get to see all of that you can't see with irons. I think that's what I got the most out of initially moving from irons to red dot. And then you can take that information back to irons, because now you know what that gun is doing. Even though you're not using the red dot anymore, if you go back to irons, you still know now you've learned from that extra information that the red dot gave you.
Yeah. So what I was thinking about doing was pulling the Q5 out and putting a hollow sun on the Q5, making a phone call, getting a Q5 still frame, and putting another hollow sun on that one as well. So I do have the main gun and then a backup gun.
That sounds interesting. I
Yeah.
actually have a Holosun on order right now.
Oh, which one?
507. I think it's 507.
Yeah, that's one of them I was
I don't
looking
know.
at.
I don't remember. There's all kind of numbers and letters, but
Yeah. Yeah. So I was looking up that one, the Holosun 507. Can't remember if it was a C or K. But I know it was a 507. And then I was looking at the 407.
this one is it's one I'm going to put on my carry gun actually, and it has the shake awake technology, the auto off. It has the dual power. It's got the solar, plate on the top plus the battery.
Right.
And it has the small dot and the big ring, the 32 MOA ring or whatever, which I don't use that in competition, but I think it would be, a great addition to my carry gun. I'm finally going to put a red dot on my carry gun, which I've never done before.
Right. Cool.
But looking forward to that red dot. I also have one coming back from Seymour. I sent one off that I was having issues with. It was starting to flicker on me and go in and out on me. I sent it off. Oh man, not even 2 weeks ago. And they have, it was the Gen 4 electronics, what I was using in that Seymour. And they have a Gen 5 circuit board now that has what they're calling hardened electronics. I don't know exactly what they do. I've seen some companies around will do some kind of epoxy that they pour around the electronics to help, stabilize everything in there to help eliminate a lot of the issues you have with running an electronic sight on a firearm. But it's already on the way back. I think they got it turned around and really quick, I think.
Wow. Yeah. So my overall game plan, like I said, is to dabble with carry optics. And I think what I might end up doing actually is playing around with it before I actually do it in competition. But right now, just go ahead and stick with limited until after nationals at least, and see where I am performance wise by that time. And I'm thinking I might be master by then. High hopes.
That sounds good.
Yeah. And then at the same time, turn around and go ahead and get the Holosun, put it on the Q5, and just go out and just plink around with it just to get used to it, because there's been a couple matches where local matches, and I've seen people hunting for the red dot on the draw. So I don't want to be that guy. So but like I said, when I actually get it and put it all together, it's just going to take some practice getting used to it and all that good stuff.
So when I first tried to red dot, with carry optics, I hated it. Honestly, I was slower with it. I was faster with iron sights. I really struggled with it, but it was just because I wasn't used to it. It took me about 3 months to get really comfortable with the red dot, just coming out of the holster, bringing the, my normal index and having the dot just be there, just appear, I didn't have to look around for it. And I was doing that before 3 months time frame, but I was very comfortable at 3 months, and I finally felt like I was able to see an improvement, and I definitely was faster with a red dot at that point. But it took me several months to get there, and I hated the thing at first. I really thought about taking it off the gun.
Oh man, I remember when I was in the Army, when we first made that transition to optics with something on the reticle, like close quarter stuff. And the aim point was the first optic I remember using before I, did the ACOG and then the EOTech.
Yeah.
And, all other fancy stuff we was playing around with. But there were so many options there. And I remember it was one soldier having an issue with the aim point. Like they had an issue with keeping their eye closed. So I believe the instructors were Delta Force anyway. They just tried to act like they were civilians, but they ended up closing the end cap, the outgoing end cap,
Mm-hmm.
and kept the one that you're looking at open, looking through open. And now the soldier was shooting with both eyes open and still hitting the target. And I found that to be fascinating. So I believe with optics, you have more options than what you believe you do. But I don't know how that would carry over with carry optics on a handgun.
How long ago was that? That's pretty interesting that you mentioned that, because that's actually becoming almost like a trend that I'm seeing now for people struggling and what they're doing with it now. And maybe it was the same thing then. It forces you to stay target focused.
Right. This was back in maybe
instead of it drawing your eye back to the dot itself or the optic itself.
Yeah, this was back like 2000, 2001 time frame.
So almost 20 years ago, people were doing that same thing. That's for some reason, it's just maybe everyone's been doing it in USPSA and I just didn't know about it, but it just seems like it's becoming a trend now that as a training tool. People are putting tape on the front of their red dot.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. Like, I wonder why nobody is doing that, because even like when I shoot my AR-15 with the variable optic on it, if it's close quarter stuff, that's what I do. I close the end cap and do it with both eyes open, because with the magnification on up, you have to close the one eye because you won't be able to focus and everything. But I was always wondering, like, because I wanted to say it one day at the range, but I didn't want to mess up like your way of thinking of shooting. Like, why don't you put a piece of tape on it and just have both eyes open? Not to say I don't think you shoot with both eyes open, but
I do, and I never really had much trouble with it, and that's just me. But I know that a lot of people do, and it sounds like a really terrible idea when you say it out loud. Yeah. Why don't you cover up the front of your optic with tape? How is that going to make you shoot better? I don't know. But for some reason, you can still see the reticle, the dot, whatever it is, with your dominant eye, usually. And that's another thing that sounds really crazy, because you aim with your dominant eye, and some people are cross-eye dominant, that may have to tilt their head a little bit to look down the sights or tilt the gun a little bit. So essentially you're covering up the vision of your dominant eye, yet you're still hitting accurate shots on the target. And that sounds really crazy to me too.
Yeah, it's like when we was first doing it back then, I was like, wow, that's pretty, remarkable, and it was just something that stuck with me over the course of years. So if it's like anytime I was doing like any close quarter stuff, that's what I would do, because normally you pick up that bad habit when you get behind an optic. You naturally want to close that one eye, just naturally, because you're behind it. But
once it's magnified, you have to.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you don't have to. You could probably train around it, but it's a lot easier.
Yeah. And like I said, whenever we would do anything close quarters, especially like running in a building or whatever, you can always have the option of looking over the sight. But of course, if you got the red dot, of course, cover up the end. And then of course, when you bring it up, because that's all reflexive fire anyway, and you don't really got to put no thought into it.
So, our buddy Rob, Pop's Quest on YouTube.
Correct.
He, we shot that last Florida match on the same squad. Right. And he had been experimenting with covering up the front of his red dot on the carry optics gun. And he actually shot a local match with it completely covered up for the whole entire match. I've practiced with it some, like in dry fire, but I've never been brave enough to try and shoot a whole match like that. But he did it at the local match. And when we went to Florida, he thought that, he was comfortable enough with it. He took the tape off, or I think he actually had it on a different gun. on his backup gun or something. I don't remember, but he started the match with no tape on the dot, and he was having trouble calling his shots on 2 stages. I said 2 or 3 stages. Then he decided to I think he switched guns to the one that had tape on it already, and he started shooting better. Like, I just I don't quite understand it, and it doesn't really, I don't know. It works for a lot of people that maybe have a target focus issue. I think that you can get a dot that's too bright or too big, and it's distracting, and it pulls your eye to where you're focusing on the dot, which you don't want to do. It's a little different with irons. Sometimes with a real long or real precise shot, you really need to focus on the alignment of the front and rear iron sights, to make sure you're aiming.
I believe
I don't know. It's interesting.
I believe that when you're actually looking at that sight picture, one closed and you're just looking at the dot, and the other one you're looking at the target. Of course, the 2 images, because the way your eye is set up on that same plane, your vision is eventually crossing over to each other.
It's weird the way it works, man, but it does. It just kind of blends in together. And
but when you sit there and you think about it, you'd be like, man, that sounds crazy.
Yeah, it does really sound crazy.
And that was what I was going to focus on, because I honestly believe by hunting for the dot, like a lot of people do when they're shooting, for somebody like you, Brandon, and Tom, who's been doing it for a long time, it's second nature for y'all just to come out the holster.
I do. I don't have to think about it anymore.
Right. But somebody like me, who's probably newer coming into it, I think I would cover up that the carry optic, and then actually force myself to do it with both eyes open.
I think it's a great idea too. I wish I would have known about that or thought about that when I first started shooting carry optics. It maybe wouldn't have taken me 3 months to get used to a red dot.
Yeah. So like I said, I still practice it right now. I have a Vortex optic, little scope. And of course, it goes from red to green. And every now and then I'll put it on the AR-15 and just sit there and just look at something. And I still practice that every now and then. And when I say every now and then, the last time I did that was probably the end of the summer.
Yeah.
But of course, I'm focusing more on limited, so I'm not really focused on carry optic stuff. But it's just the fact that now that I'm thinking about it, and even like last night when I was talking with Coach B, she was even more like, so what, are you just going to drop limited? And, I told her, even though I made the decision that I want to do carry optics sometime in the near future, I want to be prepared. I want to know the rules for carry optics a little bit better. I want to know the options that I have to deal with in carry optics a little bit better. But I don't want it to be like it was when I first started shooting limited. Even though I started shooting limited with 9mm, I understood the rules, but I didn't understand the parameters of the 40. Like the size of the magazines. Some magazines you can squeeze 22 rounds in, but you got to start off with 22. You can't reload the 22.
No, then you just drop the mag on the ground.
Exactly. So, and it is like all those were learning lessons, but I want to know my options prior to doing it so I could just flow with it, and it's not me trying to game it or think too much about the game versus the ability of just executing the stage.
So there are a lot more options now than there were when I was shooting carry optics. They've changed some of the rules on as far as equipment goes. So there's definitely a lot of different stuff to look at and investigate and learn about. It's fun. It's a fun game too.
Well, I remember when I first got into shooting limited, everybody was saying limited at that time was the fastest growing division. Now I believe that carry optics took that over.
Probably. I haven't seen any data on it, but I would believe that. It's easier to get into. It's less expensive. A lot of people already have the guns. A lot of guns now, factory guns, are coming with slides pre-cut for optics. That was kind of a hindrance when carry optics first started. Nobody was offering a gun that you could buy off the shelf and it was ready to go for a red dot. You'd have to send it off to a gunsmith, and they'd have to mill the spot on the slide, and that usually requires refinishing the slide after you cut metal away from it, and that would add another $300-$500 just for machine work. But now just about every gun every major manufacturer that offers a gun that you can use in carry optics has a version that's ready for a red dot of some sort.
Yeah. Now I know the Q5, it came with those pre-cuts, and then it also comes with 3 different plates for the red dot that you're going to use.
Yeah, I don't know why they haven't come up with some sort of standard mounting for a red dot. Everyone wants to have a different mount, which doesn't make any sense to me. But
well, commercially it makes sense because it's going to draw more people to you. But of course, if you have the universal mount, you could take the universal mount and always make it better. So yeah, I mean, like AR-15 parts, they're all interchangeable.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
I don't know.
Yeah, but that would make more sense to have one universal, plate, and then everybody can.
I think so, because what if you wanted to try a different dot?
Right.
If you're from the business side of it, if you're trying to sell your red dot to someone that has a gun that's milled for a competitor's red dot, but your red dot doesn't fit that potential customer's gun, you can't sell it to them.
Yeah, because now you're just limiting your audience to.
Yeah, I mean, they have the different plates now. I don't know. There just needs to be a standard, and I think we're going toward that direction. The Trigicon RMR, I think, has kind of been somewhat of the standard for a few years now, and I think a lot of people are trying to use a similar mount. I don't know. That's just one of my little tangents I got up on here. But
actually, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look for somebody who is heavy into carry optics and bring them onto the show, and we're gonna talk the various options when it comes to carry optics, plates and different mounts and different red dots and everything else associated with it.
Rob might be a good guy to talk to about that, because I think he has like 5 carry optic guns with a dozen different red dots and stuff he's tried. So I don't know. I just found one that worked for me, and I just stuck with it. But he experimented with a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, so that's what it is. So, and I totally understand that once you find something you like, you just stick with it and you don't want to venture out from it because it works for you. I'm the same way when it comes to a lot of things. Just like when I got the STI, I call it Big Sexy. Everybody was saying get the MBX magazines.
Yeah.
But I'm more partial to the STI magazines, and I just don't know why, but when I look at an MBX magazine, I just don't think it's as sturdy as just looking at like how it's more rounded versus more corners. And I think that's the one thing that plays in my mind, but I could be wrong. I never sat down and tried to compare the two or anything. It's just, I feel the STI magazines work better for me.
I had trouble with them. I really wanted the STI magazines to work for me, but I was loading 9mm, and I just could never get them to run for me. And I got the MBX mags, and they ran great. But I have seen a lot of the STI mags in 40 that run just fine, without any issues. I don't know why I had trouble with them. The feed lips, and I don't know. I tried tuning them, and I felt like I'd have them running well and for a match or two, and then they would cause malfunctions again. I don't know. Finally, I went to MBX.
Yeah, and I honestly believe also that a lot of that has to do with maybe the gun manufacturer, how they make it, whereas they might do their tests with one specific magazine and it works better with that one magazine. They'll probably recommend that magazine. But of course, when you listen to people talk, they'll tell you like, yeah, you get an MBX, is ready to run out the box, so which is true. I've never had no issues with them. It's just when I'm holding them, I'm just like, I don't think this is as sturdy as the STI.
So the Gen 2 STI mags have a couple extra ribs or like bends in them, and they do seem, be really sturdy that way. Add some rigidity with those extra ribs along the side. Now I know what you're talking about. The MBX mags don't have that, so they look kind of flat, and I don't know. I haven't had any trouble with them, but I know exactly what you're talking about. The difference between the two.
We should do a torture test one day on the two magazines and see which one holds
You're
up.
not going to torture my $100 MBX magazines.
Well, I'm not volunteering mine. Also, before we go any further, I have to make a correction. I made a mistake on the last two shows when I was talking about the RO class that was supposed to be taking place at East Alabama Gun Club. The class is actually taking place 9 through 10 January, and you still can contact Ali Howe at film@tds.net, film Foxtrot India Lima Mike at Tango Delta Sierra.net, or you can call Ali Howe at 850-443-3327. Again, you can call Ali Howe at 850-443-3327. And this RO class is taking place in Midway, Florida, not East Alabama Gun Club. So I made an honest mistake. My bad.
Well, it's a different state, but they're relatively close. I mean, between the two locations, right?
Yeah, a couple hours.
Okay.
Yeah, a couple hours. But yep, so that was my mistake, and I do apologize for everybody who was looking to take that. And I'm pretty sure East Alabama Gun Club probably enjoyed all the people contacting them in regards looking for this.
Having a class.
Yeah, so to let everybody know, like we said beforehand, the RO class is taking place 9 through 10 January in Midway, Florida. Contact Ali Howe at film@tds.net or call 850-443-3327. And of course, if the sport is to continue, we need great people to be volunteers to keep this legacy moving forward. Yep. So, you had something you wanted to talk about and actually show.
Oh yeah, show and tell.
Yeah. So,
I've never done this before, but
yeah. But before you do that, let's go ahead and let's hop into another commercial break. And when we come back, we want to talk about this piece of history that you're going to put on display right here. So everybody, please stay in your seats. And here are a few words from our sponsors.
Hey, this is Brian Conley with Hunters HD Gold, and you are listening to the M-W Tactical Podcast.
What's up, good people? Thank you for taking the time and listening to the M-W Tactical Podcast. Please go visit the M-W Tactical store at www.m-wtactical.com/store and help support our efforts by purchasing a shirt or two. If you haven't done so, go follow us on Instagram and Facebook by searching for M-W Tactical.
The Gun Cleaners.
Our solvent is, I think, second to none. Our lube is second to none. Our lube's heavier than water, which is just a huge thing. People don't really put a lot of thought into that, just how huge that is to have on your gun, especially with concealed carry.
The Gun Cleaners.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
You know, you're going to sweat a lot of the other lubes off. With ours, it'll stay there.
The Gun Cleaners.
And maintaining the quality of the process, the quality of the end result is another, and you guys are able to do both with the process that you have there.
Order your supply of the lube and the solvent at www.theguncleaners.com.
I'm Jason Pratt, Masterclass USPSA shooter, owner of Brass Monkey Bullets. If you're interested in competition bullets, visit www.brassmonkeybulletsllc.com or call me at 423-967-1063. For more information, my email is brassmonkeybulletsllc@gmail.com. Thank you.
All right, good people. We're back at it again. And before the commercial break, we actually stated that the mad scientist was going to talk a little bit about some history, or he has a piece of history that's in his hands right now. So
I do.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about this.
I do. It's probably very familiar to a lot of people. But this is, one of the original 1911s. I was working on it for a buddy of mine. It was his father's, and he had just asked me to go through it, to make sure it was safe to shoot, there wasn't any problems with it. But this was actually a military issued U.S. Army. It actually says, what does it say exactly? It says property. Hold on, it's on the other side. United States property, and it's got their serial number on it, and it's got all the original patent information. The original patent that it shows on here is from 1897.
Whoa.
So I'm sure, a lot of people know a little bit about the history of 1911. There's another patent number on here for 1911. I don't know if that was one of the first or earlier, one of the first times it was actually issued was, I think, 1910, when they actually started issuing them, or going into 1911, something like that. But anyway, I went through this gun, and I just thought it was really cool piece of history. And it's interesting for me to look at the parts, the components, the internal workings of this thing. And it is almost exactly the same as what we're using over 100 years later. So this is amazing design and it's still, this one in particular is a pretty heavy trigger, but what we're using now is less than half of the trigger pull here. But it's amazing to me that this thing could be designed and built over 100 years ago, and it's still relevant today, and we're still competing at the highest levels of pistol competition with a design that's over 100 years old.
One thing I've always said, once you actually look at the design of the first semi-automatic firearm, there's not much difference from that first one to what's being made today.
All of these sights are really terrible.
Yeah, actually, when I held it, that's the first thing I noticed. I was like, man, did they put anything on his front sight to distinguish?
It's hard to, I guess they didn't want you to actually aim.
No, I want to say they probably put like whiteout or something on it, because
you need something.
Yeah, you got to remember back then, whenever they bought stuff like that, they always went with the lowest bidder.
Yeah, and that was one thing I did notice going through here. The parts in here are pretty cheap. They're not as hard as the parts that we use now. Right. But I don't think they were really meant to last that long either. You probably weren't expecting to put 50,000 rounds through a issued 1911.
So now with that 1911 right there, and without saying the person's name because we didn't get their permission to say it publicly, do you think they actually changed anything out from like the father? Do you think he changed anything out from the original?
I don't think so. There's a little bit of a piece of grip tape that somebody put on here just for traction.
Right.
But parts, that internal components look, just they look like they're 100 years old.
Oh wow.
But I don't know if this gun in particular is actually that old or not. But it doesn't have much wear. The parts still look good. I cleaned it up. I polished some stuff to smooth things out a little bit.
Yeah. And I remember I was talking with a couple soldiers when I was in the Army. And of course, once you get a new shipment of firearms in, everybody's happy because you're getting new stuff and you ain't got to worry about it breaking as much. But in basic training, I kept telling everybody, these firearms that y'all are using in basic training are the same firearms that was pretty much used in the Vietnam era. And everybody like, nah, man, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. And I was like, all right, think about it. The military is just not going to throw something away because it's old. Nah, refurbished. We can always use that for training.
Oh yeah.
Because you don't have to worry about it breaking down. And
they'll piece it back together as many times as they can.
And I remember we had an issue with the front sight on the range, and you can actually call the work truck that comes through. And once they get there, it's a guy who pulls up in like a U-Haul truck. It's all white. But when he opens up that back gate, it is literally a gunsmith laboratory.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be cool.
Every tool, every part you need and everything. And you just
need
call
one of
him
those.
and he'll come out there to the range. And he actually took a blowtorch to that front sight post, loosen it up, made it where it can work a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe like 2 or 3 hours after he left, we ran back into that same issue again. But like I said, it's one of those type things. It was like fascinating to see. So, but it just goes to show that technology, because me personally, I think the AR-15 is the superior rifle. I honestly believe that, but
it's an excellent design as well. Long gun design.
I think it's the best one out there, me personally. But I always get into the argument with a lot of people who say AK over AR-15, but I think the AR-15 is more superior.
There's AK's got some stuff going for it, but I don't know.
Yeah. Now,
it's tough to beat an AR.
One thing I do like about the AK is the fact that I've seen this demonstration where somebody was running it, dumped it in mud, pulled it out, and that joker was still firing. You ain't doing that with an AR-15.
No.
But that's one thing I do like about the AK. I just don't like the AK overall. Like, I would never go out and purchase an AK.
There is something to say about it, though. I mean, it sounds like it's about to fall apart. Like, you pick it up and shake it, and you can hear everything rattling around in it. Everything's so loose in there. But I think that's one of the reasons that it has such a high reliability, because you can get dirt and stuff, mud, like you said, and everything's so loose in there, it's not going to really bind up too much, and they're really overpressured, and it'll just about blow anything out of the way that
Now, with that 1911 right there in your possession, do you think that 1911 can easily be converted to a 2011, even though it's over, let's say if it was over 100 years old?
Well, you'd have to replace the frame. The 2011s are the upper, the slide, the barrel, everything up here is the same on a 2011, but the lower is the difference. It becomes a double stack magazine versus the single stack magazine. So in order to do that, you need a wider frame, and the 2011s are actually modular. So your frame on a 2011 is just the part that actually mounts to the slide, or the slide mounts to, and then the grip itself is separate. So it's 3 pieces versus this being a 2-piece. The frame and grip, being a solid piece, and then the slide, being its own thing. You could take the slide and barrel off of here. I believe. I really think a lot of the parts are. I'd have to do some measuring on it compared to, like what we're getting now from EGW and stuff. I know the parts are of better quality, but I really think dimensionally they're quite similar.
Oh, okay. Well, whenever you talk to Buddy again, I'm gonna say Buddy, all right, because I don't want to say his name over the air. But whenever you talk to him, Buddy is not his name. Buddy is somebody else we know. All right, so let's say whenever you talk to the owner of the firearm,
Yeah.
if he's actually going to shoot it, kind of figure out a time frame when he's going to do it, because I would like to actually be out there when that happens.
Yeah.
So
We'll do that. I'd like to get some more information about it if he knows anything else about it.
I'm pretty sure.
I've been intrigued.
Yeah, with that serial number, I'm pretty sure you might come across a history, lesson with it overall.
I might have to just look it up, see if I can find anything on it.
Yeah. Now, if it was military, well, it was military issued. So I'm pretty sure if it was used during that time frame, like over the course of time, practicing and in certain battles, that if something was to happen, they probably started mixing and matching parts, and the true documentation was probably lost somewhere in there.
Could have been. I don't know that this one was technically issued. I mean, it definitely was property of the U.S. Army, but I don't know. Like, I don't know the history of it. But yeah, if it was used and shot, much at all, I'm sure that they swapped some parts out on it. But I'd like to learn more about it. But I appreciate you letting me show off this gun.
Yeah, man. Like
it's pretty. It's
history.
It is history. It's a good.
History. So even when you look at certain other things, and if you're somebody who is into firearms, if you look up John Browning and look at half the stuff he came up with, how much of the stuff are we still using in today's Army that he made way back in the 1800s?
Yeah, this one, I don't know when he designed it, but it was first patented. It says on the slide right here, 1897.
Yeah.
He had to design it before then. I don't know how long before then, but
yeah. So, and it's remarkable. I watched a documentary on John Browning, and this guy's mind would not stop. Like, he just had a knack for machinery and making things work. Like, he dreamed it up, he put it on paper, and the next thing you know, they put it into motion. Like when they did that semi-automatic shotgun, I was like, holy cow, man, how did they even? Because normally, if you really sit there and you think about it, we as humans, we can't just come up with something. We had to see something to actually make it better. And they have never seen anything like that to make it better. But whatever it was, whatever they were shooting, something triggered in his mind to say, hey, I can make this an automatic.
Yeah, so I've worked on some of the M2 machine guns that were his original design also.
Mm-hmm.
They've been I think they're on like the 4th generation of the thing now, but that was his original design, and I got a copy of his original prints whenever we started making these parts for the M2. And just looking at the things he did, over 100 years ago, we're still using them now. They've been modified a little bit, but
right.
Still his designs got his name right there on the bottom of the drawing.
Yeah, it was kind of funny how he did a lot of his dealings with, trying to incorporate, like, okay, this is my design, but this right here is how I want it to be named and labeled. And when he actually took his business overseas, I don't think that hurt him, but I think he was in higher demand when that took place, because that's when an actual war was happening overseas and everything. So it's a fascinating documentary. So I'm pretty sure you can find it on YouTube someplace, but I've actually seen it. I think it was on the History Channel or Discovery Channel. It was actually on TV when I seen it. And it wasn't that long ago, like maybe 6 months ago, within that time frame.
I'd be interested to know how many patents for firearms that he has. I've never looked into it. I'm sure it's
They said it in that documentary. They said it.
a couple hundred, maybe. I don't know. It's got to be a lot.
It was crazy how the first guy came at him, because he saw what it was, but he saw like how he can actually market it and put it up for sale. Which, oh man, the rifle,
Like a lever action thing?
lever action rifle. I can't remember the exact name of it, but the guy started marketing that one. And when he did it, John Browning was like, hey, I got a bunch of other ideas I can do. So whenever they did the deal, they would actually do the deal for whatever main firearm they was doing, plus 4 or 5 other ones. But they pretty much wanted that one, but Browning just wanted to go ahead and get all his, like, yeah, I'm working on these 6 firearms right here, but this is in the package. But of course, marketing and everything, they would never market it. And it's a remarkable story. So you gotta watch.
I'll have to check it out. Yeah. I didn't know there was a documentary on him.
Yeah, it was like, I just came across it on accident. I think I was just flipping through the channels one day. I was bored because I don't watch TV like that, and I'm literally just trying to find something that captured my attention so I could stop thinking for a little bit, and came across that. So history in the making, man.
Well, I'm very interested in that. I mean, I've been fascinated by his designs, firearm designs. I've been working with several of his designs for years. I'd like to check it out for sure.
I want to say they talked specifically about the M2, and something was a mistake on it. Like, however it was, something was a mistake on it, but it turned out to be the mistake that everybody was praising. But like
I wonder what that was. I don't know. Now I'm definitely gonna have to go find it.
Yeah.
When I got the drawings, if you made the parts exactly like the drawing said, they wouldn't fit together. But I think back then there was a lot of hand fitting involved.
Right.
And now we're manufacturing these things on computer controlled machines, and we're a lot more precise than you could do 100 years ago. So it probably worked well for them to make the parts and then do the final hand fitting, to get everything synced up together. But that was one thing that I noticed when we got some drawings for a bolt assembly, that if you made it to those drawings, the parts wouldn't go together. So we had to take those and make our own drawings, our own manufacturing drawings for modern machining, modern manufacturing. But I wonder what the mistake was. I'm gonna have to go look it up.
I think it was something about it overheating, or the rate of fire was too fast or too slow. It was something simple. And I mean, like, when we're looking at it today, it was something simple, but back then it was something that threw them for a loop. And then I think they was about to discard the project, and he actually ended up coming up with something, fixed it, and then it revolutionized the war.
I'm gonna have to check it out.
Yeah, man, like I said, it's pretty interesting, really interesting. But I'm into stuff like that. It was like, I can't think of the guy's name right now, and you might know it. There was somebody who was a gun. He built firearms, but he had a felon, but he couldn't own one. Yeah, I read about this guy. I can't remember who it was though. But he was a felon. He couldn't own firearms, and he had to get special permission to do this. And he actually got the permission to actually make the firearms. It's just he couldn't shoot them, test them, or anything. He just had to like draw them and do whatever he agreed upon.
Was it recently?
It was older. I can't remember. I want to say his crime was murder. He murdered somebody. And when he was in jail, he started having visions of firearms in his head.
I don't
put him
know.
on paper. When he got out, he ended up getting a job with the manufacturer and putting his designs into use.
I don't know.
I can't think of his name.
That's interesting too.
That was pretty interesting one also. But I read about that one. I haven't seen anything on him. And I just can't remember who it is right now. But
well, cool. That's going to give me something to do.
Yeah. I challenge everybody to look at that stuff and learn a little bit about history when it comes to firearms, because once you look at everything that's going on in society today, there's a lot of smoke screens going up and a lot of behind the scenes stuff that are happening behind closed doors. But if you don't know the true history of firearms or know the true history of where we are in society today, you're never going to know where you're really going.
Yeah.
You know?
And it seems like a lot of our history is trying to be covered up lately for some reason or another.
I've always said there's no reason to cover it up. There is a reason to learn from.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Don't go down that path again, but there's no reason to cover it up. It's something that happened. It might be ugly. It might make certain people look bad, but at the same time,
it's a reminder not to do it again, not to let it happen again.
Exactly.
That's what worries me. If you delete that stuff, people are eventually going to forget about it.
And then it's going to happen again.
And it might repeat itself. Yeah.
It's going to happen again. And there are some things that are taking place in society today that are really close to what was taking place over in Germany, back then. I'm trying to dance around it without saying stuff because I ain't trying to come up on nobody's radar.
Well, yeah, no, but it's concerning.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It really is. But the best part about it is there are some people still fighting the nonsense, but corruption is something that is leading the way that is going to hurt us all in the end. So, but if everybody will go ahead and contact their senators, their congressmen, go to the city hall meetings, go out, vote, educate people, just get proactive. And that's one way change will happen, because that old saying that there's strength in numbers is really true. Yep. So you have anything else you want to enlighten the people on for this week?
No more enlightenment for tonight, but I hope everyone had a great Christmas.
Yeah. And, so you doing anything special for New Year's?
No, I'm planning on nothing. That's special to me.
Well, I'm not one to actually celebrate the holidays like that. And the main reason why I would celebrate Christmas is because of the little assistant. And it means something to her. So I'm going to celebrate it with her and let her enjoy that day, that moment, the time frame. But for me, New Year's has always been a regular day for me. And if anything, like certain neighborhoods I used to live in, people used to go out, shoot the guns, shoot the fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
After that, a couple hours, go to sleep. Like normally when the fireworks and the gunshots go off, I'm in bed anyway.
Yeah.
So, but I've been like that ever since, I was a private in the military. Like I never really celebrated New Year's.
I never have been big on that. I've never been one to do any kind of resolutions for myself or whatever for New Year's. If it's, I don't know. Yeah. It's, I'm happy that, hopefully we'll make it to a new year, but
that's what I always said. Like, if anything, my New Year resolution will be that we become closer as a people. The system actually becomes justified for everybody, equal across the board, and that the little assistant is happy whenever I can make her happy. So that's my New Year's resolution. Right?
No, that's good. Good goals.
Yeah. So next week, I think next week's going to be pretty interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, because next week is my birthday week. I think I want to do a giveaway.
A giveaway.
Yeah, let's do a giveaway. Y'all.
All right.
So I got the magazine pouch. I got an extra one that we picked up from Nationals.
Mm-hmm.
So it holds about 6 magazines, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm actually surprised at the production of this case, because this ain't no flimsy, okay, we're just giving you something. This is high quality magazine pouch right here.
I started using one in my range bag. I use it at, every time I go shoot now.
Now, I started using the one they gave us at Nationals the day I got it, because whatever took place when I was going to my room, I spilled the drink on the magazine case, and I pulled all my magazines out. And when it was drying, I just threw the magazines into the new case. And I actually have an extra case. Actually, I have 2 extra cases. One of them is labeled Race Gun Nationals, and I think the other one is labeled either production or carry optics. I can't remember, but it's a blue, whatever, actually factory gun.
Right there.
That's it. That's it. So I got one that has the red label, then I got the one with the blue label. So let's come up with a way and figure out how to give that away on the birthday week.
All right, we'll do it.
Yeah,
we'll figure that out.
All right. So once again, I want to thank everybody for listening to this week of the M-W Tactical Podcast, sponsored by Brass Monkey Bullets. And if anything, just go ahead and follow us on social media. Dave has already put up his compilation for what took place at the Florida section. And I am still currently putting up stages that taking place. I don't like doing a compilation video.
I'm working on a year in review video for 2020. So that'll be out fairly soon.
That's a couple hours right there.
It's a lot.
Yeah, wow.
It's a lot of stuff to go through. Did a lot of shooting, but it's fun to go back and look through it. And I have some special music that I have been allowed to use for this video. So be sure to check it out when I release it.
That's it right there. Also, don't forget that we have a GoFundMe page up, and the GoFundMe page, we're actually running 2 GoFundMe campaigns. The first one being we are making a professional movie. Literally, we are making a professional movie in regards to our journey in shooting. And the second GoFundMe page is geared around people who don't have the financial means to actually get the training that they possibly will need. Now, I know some people will say it's a privilege to shoot and all this and that, but those who are looking to exercise their rights, in the sense of speaking, they might not have the monetary means to get the training, even though they have the firearm. So what has came up with this GoFundMe campaign is people donate to it, and those who are unfortunate will have the opportunity to seek out the training. And this GoFundMe campaign is just not going to be limited to this area in South Carolina. This is going to be a nationwide push. So say like if somebody was to contact me and say, hey, I live in this area, we have a screening process that we're going to put into place and everything. And then once everything is agreed upon, the funds will be sent to that instructor to make sure that student gets trained. So if you're looking to help us out with that one, it is GoFundMe.com/free firearm training, and help us make some people proud gun owners and educated gun owners in the process.
We need to get out and get training. There's been more new gun owners this year, I think, than we've ever had in our American history. Mm-hmm. And I always like to compare it to like buying a musical instrument.
Right.
If you buy a guitar or something, it doesn't make you a musician. It doesn't mean you know how to play it. So just because you bought a gun doesn't mean you know how to use it. It really helps if you go out and get some training from a qualified professional, and show you the ins and outs of proper firearm safety and how to use your gun if you ended up in a situation where you might need to.
Yep. So there you have it. So help us out with those 2 GoFundMe campaigns so we can actually get some stuff going. And at the same time, go follow Dave on Instagram at CSRA Shooters and Facebook at CSRA Shooters. And then head on over to my Facebook page, M_W Tactical, and Facebook page M-W Tactical. And if you're listening to this podcast, you can actually see the podcast also if you head on over to the M-W Tactical YouTube page as well. So outside of that, just hit us up if you have any questions. What we should do one day is do a call in. We have a window open, like a specific time, and people can call in. Yeah, we should work that out.
We could do that.
Yeah, see what questions we can get over the air.
Okay.
Interesting. Let's plan it out a few times or so. All right. So do you have anything else you want to share before we depart?
That's it. I'm just trying to get prepared for 2021. Hopefully we'll have a better year.
That's very true.
This 2020 has just been nuts all around.
Yes, I agree. So without further ado, everybody, please stay in your seats and come back next week. But until then, here are a few words from our sponsors.
Are you in the market to purchase your first or next firearm, but find the atmosphere of a gun store intimidating, crowded, or uninviting? There's a way for you to purchase the gun you want while avoiding the crowds, the gruff salesmen, and the marked up prices that come with a brick and mortar gun store. The process is called a transfer, where the purchase is made at an online store and sent to a federally licensed middleman called an FFL, who processes the paperwork and background check for a firearm purchase. CAE Transfers is the FFL with the lowest transfer cost in the Midlands at only $20 or $15 with the presentation of a South Carolina concealed weapons permit and $10 for repeat customers. If you live in Columbia, South Carolina or its surrounding areas, choose CAE Transfers as your FFL during checkout and let me help you complete your online gun purchase. You can find and follow CAE Transfers online at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram using @CAE Transfers. Thank you for your business, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Hey, this is Brian Conley at Hunters HD Gold. If you've never tried Hunters HD Gold, then I challenge you to find me at a match next year. Go to the website under scheduled events, find out where I'm going to be. Come meet me in person and demo a pair for yourself. Find out why shooters across the United States are changing to Hunters HD Gold to get 43% more light to their eyes, better contrast, eyes that are not fatigued at the end of the day based on the colors that we use, and find out the real meaning of why they change so you don't have to. So check us out on our website, huntershdgold.com, and I look forward to seeing you at the range soon.
The Gun Cleaners.
Our solvent is, I think, second to none. Our lube is second to none. Our lube's heavier than water, which is just a huge thing. People don't really put a lot of thought into that, just how huge that is to have on your gun, especially with concealed carry.
The Gun Cleaners.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
You're going to sweat a lot of the other lubes off. With ours, it'll stay there.
The Gun Cleaners.
And maintaining the quality of the process, the quality of the end result is another, and you guys are able to do both with the process that you have there.
Order your supply of the lube and the solvent at www.theguncleaners.com.
Thank you for taking the time to hang out with us on the M-W Tactical Podcast. Remember, a new podcast comes out every Tuesday. If you can't wait for Tuesday, go listen to past episodes to catch up on what you missed. Make sure you visit www.m-wtactical.com and see what all is offered on the site, where you can even purchase M-W Tactical apparel. But please, go to our Facebook and Instagram page and follow us on our journey in the sport of competition shooting and the realm of the 2A community. Until next week, keep shooting, keep practicing, and have fun.